Describe the organizational white space concept and how it can have a negative impact on companies.
As having been a person who's been through the whole quality management motivation and a view of life through the 90s, the business process re-engineering things that we were doing for the longest time, and then into knowledge management, we started to see the pace of things picking up and picking up and picking up. And that means that an organization that had a lot of white spaces, which basically showed that each of the units was pretty much independently trying to run itself as an official unit, we learned that the more that happened, the less it was connected to other units. And we had to close down the white space and get all the space to be squeezed down as people started to build interfaces where interdependency and collaboration was better and faster. So we had to get to a point where information and knowledge moved more quickly to people who needed it, which meant our organizations had to become more tightly controlled. And that was an advantage for small businesses because small businesses had multiple functions under the same person. So they could do the integration in their own mind because they knew that they had to. Large organizations found it very hard to close the gap without costing a lot of money and disrupting people and having to lay people off. And so it was always a battle. The goal always is to reduce white space as long as you can increase efficiency and as long as you increase effectiveness. But you cannot reduce it if your costs of reducing it are so disruptive to our workforce and there's so much resistance to change that you start paying a penalty in that people will not work with you. So there's subterfuge and you don't get the benefit from the very things you're doing. And I was a knowledge management engineer and my job was to analyze what we had to change and how to change. And many times we only got maybe half of the project done because of the tremendous resistance from a variety of people who did not want to be affected by any kind of change that maybe higher management wanted. And so they resisted every step of the way, and eventually they won out, and some of the things that needed to change would not be changed. So the white space was being squeezed out for efficiency, but at the same time, people were resisting that because it interfered with who they worked with, who they sat next to, what building they were in. And so even though management said we could consolidate this all in Indianapolis, people who lived in Southern California did not want to go to Indianapolis. And so they couldn't necessarily squeeze the white space as much as they had hoped to.